Yeah, hello all. Thanks for joining the session. Uh, Kindly confirm in the chat whether you guys can hear me and see the screen. Also, please wait for 2 more minutes for people to join. If not, we'll start the session. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Kiran, for confirming. Yeah. Okay. So we can start the session. So yeah, once again, welcome to the session. So this is Linux Administrator Weekend Batch, and yeah, I'm your instructor, Karthik here. So yeah, before proceeding further, there are few instructions. So the first two sessions, which is like today and tomorrow session, will be a demo session. And yeah, feel free to ask any questions related to the course or anything technical. And once for the third session, only for the paid candidates, the Zoom link will be sent. Okay. And yeah, so these two recordings will be available in the YouTube channel. So yeah, and please don't do a bad shifting, and there won't be any refund. And please click on this WhatsApp link. So let me send that in the chat. So once you click on that link, it will be redirect to the WhatsApp group. So why you should be part of this group? So if there is anything related to our course, like my availability or any recording related query, you will get that here. Okay, so this is a community one, and you cannot actually type anything here. Just an information it will be passed through this WhatsApp group. Okay, so please do join it if you're not already. And yeah, so we are using LMS as a graphy, and I will show you that also, like how to enroll the session. And yeah, so the support team availability is from Monday to Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. like IST, and that is a business ask. So please do reach out to them for any queries, and this is their contacts. Okay, so support at logiclabstech.com, and these are all the phone numbers. So any payment related issue, or if your recording is like not up to the mark or any issue, right? So you face, you just reach out to them. They will help you out. Okay. So yeah. So these are all the social media links, and this is the official link. I'll be showing you how to enroll at the last. And yeah, you can like visit any of these links. And let me start a little bit of about myself. I'm Karthik, and I'm currently working as a platform engineer in one of the MNCs. And I done RHCSA a while back, okay, and currently planning for RHCE as well. So yeah, and on day-to-day basis, we handle around more than 9,000 servers on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so yeah. So firstly, for anyone who joined would have a question that like why what is Linux and why it is still relevant, right? So why? Because You might came across this term, and for the people who are very new to IT, so this would be a very new term for you. And you are used to Windows and some other, let's say Mac OS also. Like you'll be used to those operating systems, but in the corporate or in enterprise, um, Linux is preferred. Why? We will get into the details. But firstly, what is a Linux? Linux is just any other operating system. But one good thing about Linux is it is an open source. Okay, so and you have closed source also. So which is the best example is what you are seeing right now. It is your Windows operating system. Okay, so your Windows OS, any version you take, it is a closed source. How we can confirm it is a closed source? You just go to your settings or anything, you cannot disable any of these. If you can also, or if you, let's say you, can you remove this icon? Obviously no, right? So not only that, in the, like as a service level, anything you do also, after a Windows update, it will be back online. Again, you need to do the same thing, which is a tiring process because they have the control over any of the services in your system. And it's a closed source also, right? So that's the thing about Windows as well as Mac OS. And how about open source, which is your Linux operating system? So what is Linux is? It's a open source, and there are, since it is open source, this is the actual kernel. Okay, so what is a kernel? We will get into the details later, but as of now, it is just the heart of your system. Okay, so without a kernel, and kernel is the one instructing for, let's say, if I go to disk management, right? So the kernel is what it will give all these information and many things. Okay, so it does all the hardware, and this is the one. Okay, so and he's the one came up with the uh, first kernel of Linux, especially. So Linux is again based on a Unix platform. Okay, so that's a different thing. And you see how many contributors are there this one, right? So these many people came across and like they contributed for this particular kernel, and this is one of the few kernels. Sorry, one of the few repos in GitHub, which is like you see, um, it's a very famous one actually. And the best thing is still today it is sorry till date it has been updated, right? So all the files, it will be files and documents, everything will be updated in this report, which is a good thing, right? So yeah, again, your Linux is an open source operating system, and why companies prefer it, right? So firstly, Linux, so they can tailor around, let's say a server is for backup, or a server can be configured for any application or any requirement. And it must tolerate whatever, like whatever changes you make it, right? So any configuration change, it should be applicable and it should at least compatible with that. Whereas in Linux, it is easy for the developer or for anyone, right? So they can tailor their OS according to their requirement. That's a very huge thing compared to any other competitor. Let's say in Windows, you cannot. In Mac also, you can, but to a certain extent only you can, right? And by the way, Mac OS is also based on Linux only, right? So yes. And the next thing is Linux has many distros. It is called as, firstly, it is a distributions, and in short, it's called as Linux distros. Okay, so again, what is a distro? So you see so many operating systems here. So again, each are different operating systems altogether. Why? Because each has its own set of developers who are kind of Linux enthusiasts, and they build their own operating system, right? So you will see Red Hat somewhere here. And yeah, so like these many operating systems are out there, and it is open source, right? So anyone, and even you can build your own operating system if you know UI, UX, and like advanced knowledge, but still you can also create your own version just by pulling this kernel and yeah, just adding a UI element and security. Many things need to be there, but still you can somehow create a vanilla OS out there, right? So yeah, so that's the different distros, and you can see the famous one Ubuntu is here, right? So Ubuntu and our Red Hat will be here somewhere. Yeah, somewhere in the list, but it won't be in the top. But yeah, it is still here. Yeah, here it is, 60% place. So, and why it is still relevant to the IT? So that's what, like anything, like any requirement can be fulfilled by Linux, and it in an efficient way, and the performance is great, especially with Linux, and the update cycle also can be tailored. Okay, so that's so many advantages which we will see over the time, and as of now, that's the baseline, like how and why it is still there, right? So because it's been like he announced, it's around 30 plus years, and still it is relevant, and all the modern computers still uses Linux, and they depend on Linux, right? So that's how uh, impact it is to the IT industry. So yeah, and now firstly, why I told Red Hat is because uh, our sessions, or like in your work environment, every company or enterprises use RHEL or Red Hat Enterprise. So in short, it is RHEL. And firstly, we will see a little bit about what is Red Hat as a company, right? So since I told it is open source and anyone can build it, right? So there is one, it used to be a small company like 20 years ago. So they started their own venture, and they built their site, right? So their own version of Linux. And now it is a huge corporation. And yeah, so you see, it is actually acquired by IBM, Red Hat as well. It's been 4+ years, like IBM acquired it. And so many products is owned by Red Hat. Again, the famous one is nothing but your operating system, but still, yeah, you see, this is the one. And you might have came across OpenShift, right? So, and Ansible. So for the people who are familiar with DevOps, they might have came across Ansible, and Red Hat is the one who owns it. And some cloud computing like OpenShift cloud platform, like OCP is there. And yeah, so many tools out there, JBoss, and automation side, your Ansible is there, like that. So many tools. You just go through their portfolio, yeah, and so many tools you might have not heard, but still it might be there. And yeah, it's a huge corporation. So why RHEL, right? So as I mentioned, many companies prefer RHEL because of their great support team. So right away, they will like answer your queries or any issue you're facing with the OS. And obviously, any OS without an issue, you cannot see, right? So obviously, there will be some issues, and they have a very good reputation, um, sorry, their repetitiveness and issues will be bit less due to like it's kind of stable. Okay, so you're like the current RHEL version is around, it's RHEL 9.4, and that's what, like it is a very stable one compared to the competitors. And you have you might have came across IBM AX, and these are all legacy servers, legacy operating systems, right? So whereas RHEL is like it is supports most of it, right? So it can be used in legacy, but still it supports most of the hardware. Okay, and yeah, so the RHCSA certification. So Red Hat came up with this certification like um, from 2006. This certification is around. Okay, so what is RHCSA? It is Red Hat Certified System Administrator. And why we are going through only this? There are so many certificates out there, right? So you have CompTIA Plus and LFCS. So many certifications are there. So why RHCSA in particular? So RHCSA is it has its own credibility in your in the market, as well as if you have that in your resume, you're assuring the interviewer that you know the basics and the intermediate level. It's not only the basic certification, because many certificates are there, which is very basic. Whereas here, you need to put some input for few questions and stuff. And one good thing is it is not an MCQ based certification. It is pure practical sessions or practical questions will be there. Let me show you this one. Yeah, like this. You won't see any MCQ. So only if you know how to answer, let's say ACL, you can answer this question, right? So that's how it is. And we will discuss about all the questions. Don't worry about it. But still, that's how the RHCSA exam is designed for. And that's a good thing, right? So because if you know how to answer it, then only you can. And again, our course is tailored based on this exams question, as well as much more than that. So that's what this, I will explain the syllabus part. Just stick with me for another 15-20 minutes. And yeah, after that, you can ask any doubts and all, okay? So firstly, this is the roadmap for our sessions, okay? So firstly, we'll be seeing the user management, which is so important for any operating system. Like let's say it is the security of the like how much secure a user is, and how much you are assuring the user, right? So what is the security protocols you are using and those things, and that's important because firstly they need to manage their own employee data, and let's say if it is a service-based company, they will have like clients' data also, right? So that's what, like they need to manage multiple, especially users, and how they're approaching it, right? So we'll be seeing that. It's a very important topic, and the disk management, which we never considered as a typical end user, right? So whereas here in Windows also, like we never partition, we will, but the point is it's not like this partition will be only used for application or let's say a movie or a series. Like we will never segregate like that. Whereas here, in any company, data is where they put a lot of money in, and they need to make sure to get like the most of it, most out of the what they are investing, right? So that's how important that data is and where you're saving the data in the disks, right? It must be like there will be a lot of partitions and each has its own meaning to it. And we will see how to do all that. And it's a very important session as well, disk management, because on day-to-day basis, you might do it. Okay. And the process management and process management in the sense, like, let me give a Windows example. So how well your Windows is managing a simple task. And if it is an idle, so idle in the sense, let's say you turn on your system in idle, how much your system resource being used for each processes, right? So like your basic Windows process, how efficient it is, right? So like that, we will see from the basics till how to troubleshoot if something went wrong in the processes. And that's for the next one. Server troubleshooting, like hardware level and software level, how to troubleshoot if something went wrong, right? So, and it we will be doing the postmortem also, like if something went wrong and you found it, how to approach it that it should not we should not encounter it again, right? So that's also so important. And yeah, so that's the server troubleshooting, and you won't get whatever we discuss in this server troubleshooting, you might not get in your RHCSA syllabus. Okay, so again, it's not only RHCSA. Okay, so we will see much more than that, which I have experience on, and for sure we'll discuss that. And lastly, I mentioned basic networking. So why this basic right? So why can't we see the full network? So networking is a separate subject itself. And yeah, so we will be seeing networking based on the server level. So as a sysadmin, what are all the networking knowledge or commands you must understand and know? And that's what we'll be discussing in the sessions. For sure, that knowledge itself is more than enough. You need not know like subnetting and like how it works, and obviously you will know, and I will give you the baseline how it actually works, but not to a deep level we'll be seeing, because like it will take a lot of time. So, right? So networking itself can take around 15, 20 days. That's a separate course altogether, right? So that's the reason. Only which is related to our course. And as a sysadmin, we'll be discussing in the basic networking topic. So this is the base roadmap for our batch. And this is around 17 or 18th batch, I guess, this our batches. And yeah, so let me give a baseline about the syllabus, right? So as I mentioned, we will be discussing the user management. But before that, we need to install, right? So there is no separate lab, guys. Okay, so your laptop, I will show you how to install VMware Workstation. And if you're having hard time in your laptop, let's say you're using your company's laptop, which is totally fine, but you don't have the admin privileges, right? So in that case, you can use AWS or GCP or any cloud service provider. It can be anything, right? So I'll be showing you AWS and GCP, and Azure actually trial version is there, but it is just for 30 days, which is not enough for our batch, right? So um, yeah, so that's the reason I recommend AWS or GCP, because AWS is for 1 year. They offer the free tier account, whereas GCP is for 90 days, which is more than enough. Okay, so yeah, and if you're using your own personal laptop, I will show you how to install VM in VMware Workstation. So don't worry about it. And many might already know that okay, Linux is all about commands, and that is true. But it's not like you must remember. There is around 2000 plus commands. Like no one can remember everything, right? So we will be seeing only the essential, and the advanced command is also there. But uh, among the 2000 commands, you need not remember everything, right? So obviously no one can. So the point is we will be seeing at least 100 to 200 commands in that range, which are relevant on day-to-day basis. Okay. And yeah, so the intro we'll be seeing in maybe next session. So yeah, and the performance monitoring. So why we need to monitor? So again, companies pour a lot of money in their infra, and they need to get the best performance out there. So that's what, like, if your system is running, obviously you if you throw anything in the system, or if you're running any process, it will run. But it will reach to a certain point if something is not fine, or there is a term called as bottleneck. Okay, so your CPU is like reaching its limit, right? So if it is reaching the limit and it is still like it can perform, but it is not, right? So that's what called as bottleneck. And yeah, so in my case itself, my memory is having 866%, which is totally fine. But if I run a VM, or if I'm running multiple VMs, it will reach its limit, right? So how to um, have an optimal performance? That's a job of a sysadmin, which we will see and do it very seriously. And this is a monitoring in real time for one system or one server, right? So whereas in your work environment, you will be encountering like thousands of server, right? Obviously, you cannot monitor right away. So that's the reason you will create a threshold or alert. Okay, so let's say if it reaches a threshold of 90%, it will automatically trigger an alert, and you will get an email or notification, anything. But yeah, so there is a monitoring tool will be there. And there are so many monitoring tools out there. It is Zabbix is there. Splunk is a log monitoring tool, and ELK stack, right? So If the list goes on, Dynatrace is a very famous one for the APM, application monitoring tool. Okay, so application performance monitoring, there is again a plethora of tools out there. Yeah, so these are all the famous ones. So I will try to show at least one of the tool at the last. Okay, so not right away. At the last, we will try to configure and show it to. Okay, so if time is not there, I will try to include the course in the drive. Okay, so at least a blog of how it works, because the basics itself is enough for you. It's not like, okay, you must know that, but at least one monitoring tool, if you know how to schedule an alert for some threshold like CPU, memory, any resource threshold, you must know it, at least one tool, right? So remaining tools, it's just the naming scheme will differ, but the properties will be the same, or how to approach the issue will be the same. Just one tool I will try to show you, but at the last. Okay. So yeah. So the user management, as I told, these are all the basics, right? So how to create a user, how to manipulate a user, and again, how the super user works, right? So super user is like a pseudo access, which is so important for a sysadmin, and it's an interesting session it will be, right? So because like the user management which we are using in our Windows is not that like we will use, but it's not that effective. Whereas in Linux, it's a bit strict and a very different approach. It's not a typical one. So we will see how it works. And the next one is your basic OS concepts. Okay, so which is typically how to search for a term, how to find a file, how to access a server remotely, right? So using SSH and how SSH works, that itself is a separate session. And archive, the old data we must archive, right? So how to archive and send it to a different server. So these are all basic things we must know as a sysadmin. And yeah, so again, how to manipulate a file directory and their permissions, which is again an important session, and how the hard links, soft links works, everything. And yeah, so the next one is your system administrator activities. So what are all the, again, as a sysadmin, what are all the basic activities you do on as a BAU, right? So as a day-to-day, what you will do, right? So in next session itself, we'll be seeing the booting procedure. So once you know that, only you can understand these all topics. So again, the booting procedure. And if you're booting and it's not uh, fully booted, right? So some issue or it's stuck with some error, what to, like, what are all the actions you will take? So for that, you must know the booting procedure, right? So that's what we will be seeing. And yeah, you see, interrupt the boot process and go to the emergency mode. Okay. So, and how to identify any CPU or if there is any spike, right? So all of a sudden you see there is a spike here, right? So like that, if there is a spike, what it means, right? So in disk level, memory, CPU, like what is the action you will take, right? So that one we'll be discussing, and how to locate and understand a log. That itself is a very good skill as a sysadmin you must have, how to understand a log and where it is located, because there will be like 20 or 30 plus logs out there and you need to locate the exact log, right? So that one is a challenge as of now, but I will show you how to do that. Okay, so don't worry about it. And how to preserve the important logs, how to preserve it and again archive it, right? So like that. And the services, right? So how to start, stop, if something went wrong, how to troubleshoot and check the status of any system services, like any services. We will be seeing that as a process management. During that session, we'll be discussing, and how to transfer files between different servers. That is like using rsync, SCP, and WinSCP, right? So all those tools we'll be discussing. And the next one is your disk management. Okay, so yeah, few more slides. Just stick with me. And yeah, so disk management is a very, very important session, guys, because as a sysadmin, you are the only person in the whole infra who have the privilege to increase or decrease or remove all these things based on your disk storage, right? So you have the privilege to do all that. So that's what. And here there is a new term called as LVM, which is logical volume management. Again, this is a very unique perspective. And okay, let me give a baseline of how it actually works. So what if you can combine these two disks? So these are the disks in my system. Okay. So how about you combine these two disks? You can, right? So literally you cannot do that in your Windows, right? So let's say you combine this and call it like 460 gigs. No, you cannot. Natively, you cannot. And any third party's tool is there, but it's not that reliable, right? So in your Linux, you can actually. Not only this, like if you have 100 disks also, you can create a single a volume group, it is called as. So we can create that and we can combine like n number of disks you want and call it a single partition. You can create a single partition out of it, which is great. And that is also a USP of Linux. Okay. So we will see that extensively, how to do that. And if something went wrong, let's say you mount it and you're while mounting, you're having some issue, right? So those all like we will create our own scenario. If you made a mistake there, how to approach it. That's important knowledge you must have as a sysadmin because not everything will go as planned, especially in your servers, right? So something might go wrong, and you should be in a position to analyze and like you need to act on it right away because again, it like let's say you're having an issue, and in another one more hour there is a production hours will start. So that is a very important, right? So you must act on the pressure and how to do that we will see. Okay. So yeah, these are all the like there is a physical volume and logical volume, all these concepts. Again, it's an important session. Okay. And status and video is a advanced version of LVM, which is important for the work environment as well as in exam, you might get these two. For sure, you'll get these two, or at least one you will get. Okay? And the next one is as a operating system, security is the most important aspect, which will define or which will be the defining factor for choosing the operating system. So many will go for Mac or Windows, and obviously they have their own reasons, right? Like it is which is more secure, even in your Android, iOS, right? So you have that like the perspective of each person, like which is secure like for their understanding, which is secure, right? So like that, there will be an debate for every operating system. There is a security factor chooses or it differentiate the different users' perspective, right? So that's how important the security is, and especially in Linux, you guys might already know that it is one of the most secure operating systems out there. And again, RHEL makes sure it's even secure, right? And so yeah, these are all, each topic you see in security is so important, which is your key-based authentication, which we will see around one whole session will be taking only key-based, which is again, you might have used it, private key, public key. In AWS, if you're already familiar, you might have used it, but you would not have an idea like how it actually works. Like we'll be opening the key file, right? So we will authenticate and we'll be seeing in the verbose mode, like what actually happens, right? So which is an important knowledge. You might get that in the interviews. Okay. So yeah, that one, as well as firewall, which is a network firewall, as well as in the OS level, what is a firewall, how to configure it, those things, and SC Linux. So SC Linux will form a security enhanced Linux, which is again like very few people use. It is by default enabled, but very few people will have understanding on SC Linux. And again, you might get some few like interview questions, right? So based on SC Linux, we will be seeing extensively how to do this or how it actually works. At least we will be discussing that, and how to restrict the user to use specific set of commands, and how to use a jailed user. Okay, so there is a concept called as jailed user. which is what if an user can, let's say, yeah, and user can only go to this particular uh, directory. He cannot go to even his own home directory. Like just for an example, he's logged in and go only to this one, right? So that's a huge issue for him. And if it's a requirement also, let's say you want to lock him in that particular path, you can, right? So that's the restricted user. We will see that. And lastly is your basic networking. As I mentioned, we'll be seeing how to set up a static IP, host name, if there is any issue with the network services, how to troubleshoot. And this is a basic one. So how to start it automatically with the boot. And yeah, so last one is containers. So did anyone came across containers as a like Docker or Kubernetes? Right, so you might have came across for sure, and we'll be seeing a container called as Podman. So what is a Podman? It is an open source container which is used, which is used in your Linux. Okay, so Red Hat actually owns a stake in Podman, and yeah, so we'll be seeing this, and it's like 99% Docker. Okay, so if you know Podman, literally you can just replace it with Docker. Any term or any commands you use, exactly the same it will be. We will see that at the last. And again, you will get this in the exam. Okay, so that's the one. And lastly, you see the VMware vSphere, because this is the one which we use, and this is for the commercial use. Okay, but in your enterprise, you will not see this layout. Your vSphere is a totally different layout, and I'll be showing you how it actually works and looks like. Okay, so yeah. So why this is important is because in your laptops, actually, you cannot install that VMware vSphere. And it is a hardware requirement is there. So only on certain servers or certain computers, which I have. This is a computer, by the way. So yeah, only in certain hardware, it will run. Okay, so that's the issue. I will show you, don't worry about it. VMware vSphere at the last. Okay, so yeah. That's it, your syllabus part. So let me see. Shell scripting, yeah, we don't we don't cover shell scripting, Sharma, Priyank Sharma. So why? Because this is mainly targeting for the people who are very new to IT, right? So, or if they're already experienced and trying to move to a Linux team or sysadmin team, then this is the course for them. And shell scripting is not part of your exam also. In RHCSA, you won't get a shell script. And if you want, I can teach you the basics at least. Okay, so don't worry about it. But again, it's not like fully we will cover. Just the basics we can cover. No issues. Exactly, Ravi. Yeah. So RHEL, it's not like they stop the support, but Podman, they actually acquired Podman. Okay, so Podman is under Red Hat's belt, and they are pushing their own product first, right? So that's the thing. So yeah, and the okay, so this is mainly aiming for, let's say, a beginner, right? So if you are very new to this one, you can uh, like you can start your career with this one. Why? Let me give a perspective. So let's say you are let's say you're a new graduate or you're already experienced, and um, you are trying for developer, right? So which is fine. And for a developer, and you want your for sure you will be studying Python or Java or any other, let's say JavaScript also, some framework in the JavaScript, right? So it will take some time, guys. So at least 5 to even 10 months it will take. Okay, so which is totally fine, and it's like flooded with especially in India. I'm not sure out there, but in India you will be like lot of competition, especially for this one. So in order for your profile to stand out, you need to again do some project, which will you just add one, like at least let's say 2 months as a buffer, for your projects, right? So then only you can even approach the job market, which take almost a year, right? So which is fine, but if you're fine with that amount of time, then you can go with it. But if you're planning for sysadmin, and it's not a how to say, it's not a small job also. It's a very important job, and you will be studying what Linux admin. And after this, if you're interested, you can even study VMware, right? So, and Windows Server, let's say. Okay, so again, only with Linux, you can start searching. Let's say you're studying all the three, which are the most important in the infra layer, and it will take hardly 4 months, right? So, and there is no project needed also. Just you can mention like the points which you know, and let's say you are doing some basic project. 1 month is more than enough, right? So that's what, like, you see the timeline, right? So again, this is a very vague timeline. It can differ for each person, but the point is that's what, like, it's an entry level. You can start, especially if you're very new to IT and you're from non-IT background. This is a very good place to start in your career path. And once you're started, what is the next one? So in sysadmin, right? So sysadmin, after that, you will be going for system engineer, which is including some more automation and some more troubleshooting, right? So as a sysadmin, you will be doing again basic as well as intermediate tasks. System engineer, you will be assured for sure you'll be doing only the intermediate, like a L2. So you, if you're already in a IT, so you have 3 levels, right? So L1, L2, L3. So L3 is like a senior guy who might be having 8+ years of experience. So L2 is like at least 3 to 4 years of Linux experience, right? So L1 is the base level, which once you're done with the sessions, you will be joining. If you're new to IT, if you're already experienced, obviously the level will vary. But that's what, like, as a system admin, you will be L1 or L2. System engineer, it will be for sure L2 level jobs only they will be providing you. And the next one is your DevOps. So you might have, obviously, you might have came across DevOps term. And yeah, so DevOps engineer, this is the starting point. Why, I will tell you. All the DevOps tools you might have came across: Jenkins, and again Kubernetes, and what else? Like any monitoring tool you take, even Splunk, right? So all these, what is a common thing is, firstly, all these tools are running on top of Linux OS only. So at least for starting that service, you must know the basic Linux. And if something went wrong also, you can at least try to troubleshoot it. Okay. Also, as a DevOps engineer, you must do all the things in CLI. Okay. So CLI, what is CLI? Firstly, CLI is command line interface, which is just the commands it will be. Right. So there is no UI element. So command line interface. So it is like CMD and only CMD. Okay, so it will be just like this. So only if you know the command you can do. So it's simply you cannot type create and do. You just need to type the specific command, then only it will work, right? So that's how CLI works. And then again, it's not like only CLI. Few tools you use graphical user interface, which is GUI, but still companies prefer CLI because that's how it is. Okay, so it is easy actually, CLI. And if you're doing a lot of tasks, CLI is actually far more better and optimal compared to your GUI. Okay, and it also saves a lot of your resource. In order for GUI to run, there will be basic resource needed, whereas CLI doesn't need so much things, right? So it's a very minimal system resource, and remaining resource can be used for that application or anything, right? So yeah. And after DevOps, you can go to SRE or platform. So this is the roadmap. Okay, so SRE is your site reliability engineer. Again, right away you cannot go for all these. So just Linux acts as a baseline for all these. Okay, so this is the kind of your career like aspiration. So once you're done with sysadmin, you can or you are eligible for system engineer once you acquire that knowledge. The same thing goes for DevOps. If you know some tools like these, you can at least approach the DevOps role or interviews. And if you know automation and you are assuring any reliability in your work environment, you can apply for SRE roles. And SRE is also like almost like DevOps guys. It's like DevOps plus automation, SRE is. And platform engineer, like if there is any platform in your company, you are the one who need to manage everything, right? So that's the one. Yeah. So this is like a very entry level. Again, from basics, we'll be discussing. It's not like, okay, try to do right away, let's say firewall configuration or something. We'll be going from the basics till the intermediate or even few advanced stuff we will be discussing. Okay. And the question paper, right? So firstly, you just type bit.ly slash Linux LL1. So this is a URL shortener. Once you go to this link, it will redirect you to this drive. Okay. So anything related to our course will be posted here. Okay. So the installation files and the question paper and everything, right? So how to install the instructions is also here. So now you see this RHCSA queue, and please do bookmark this one, guys. Okay. So yeah. So this is the question paper which we will be discussing. Again, in your exam, you will write on RHEL 9. Okay. And what is the difference between RHEL 8 and 9? We will be discussing that later. But yeah, this is your question paper. There won't be a single MCQ. As I mentioned before, it is purely practical. And once you know or answer this question, then only you can proceed with the, like, let's say for the one server, the network itself won't be configured. Okay, so once you know to answer this question, then only you can even log into the server to answer rest of the questions. That's how important it is, right? So yeah. So yeah, any doubts, anyone in the syllabus part or any doubt? It can be like your job related or anything. And it is a paid session, guys. Okay, so this is the course fees, and in USD it is 50 USD. This is 4130 INR. And the session timing, right? So I mentioned as 15 days. Again, it will vary based on your like how many queries you are asking, and you are welcome to ask as much query as you want, because you might not able to ask in your work. Let's say you are placed in a company. If you ask your seniors, they might respond, but the issue is they might be busy in some other work, and you might be kind of think it is a basic question and why I'm asking like that. So you can ask even the most basic, and you can even ask one more time also. I can explain it. Okay, so don't worry about it. But yeah, so based on your questions, the duration may vary, but at least 15 days of content, like 15 days means, yeah, so at least 5 to 6 weeks, we will have session. Those many contents are there, and it can prolong based on, yeah, how many questions you ask. Yeah, we will be using RHEL 9. Yeah, so we will be installing RHEL 8, but RHEL 9 is also same, Ravindra. Don't worry about it. Both uses same thing, and in your exam also, RHEL 8 or 9, it doesn't matter. But your exam is RHEL 9. Okay, so I will be installing RHEL 8. Okay, so but the point is, in your exam, it doesn't matter because there is not much difference between 8 and 9. But 7 and 8, there is a huge shift in UI level or in your operations level. There is a huge shift. Okay, but 8 and 9, there is nothing much. So yeah, and in your GCP, we'll be using RHEL 9. Okay. Okay, that's a good question. So I have done AWS Solution Architect, now doing this course. Okay, so that's what Krishna, right? So yeah, Krishna. So the thing is that many and I'm not like blaming you, but many do this kind of cloud-based courses, right? So AWS or GCP, it can be any course, but what is a common thing is they miss out the Linux, right? So which is so important for a sysadmin, and that's what like if you know this course, you can add Linux in your portfolio or in your resume. For sure, you're assuring that okay, you are eligible or you're understanding the basics. Okay, so basic obviously. So yeah, right away you can apply for companies and they do require Linux. It's like a necessity, guys. Why? Because as I mentioned, companies prefer Linux and the ratio is Linux and other OS. Okay, so Linux OS, it's around 72%. I'm not making this number up. So yeah, it's exactly the same. And remaining is for the other OS. So it's dominating and companies prefer this. Okay, so that's the reason it's a necessity. If you know at least the basic commands, you can obviously switch or you can at least try for a promotion in your existing company. So it is a necessity, Linux is nowadays. And you see mostly these tools, and I will try to show you one thing. Just a sec. It might be an overwhelming image. Yeah. So you see this image, right? So in this, it's a DevOps tools, right? So most of it uses CLI guys. So CLI means for sure it is a Linux operating system, mostly, right? So that's what you see: Docker, Kubernetes, Git, and yeah, or else Jenkins, Travis CI, and Puppet, Chef, all these famous tools, like these are all monitoring tools, Zabbix, Dynatrace, App Dynamics, right? So yeah, all these tools having what they have in common, a Linux operating system. So if you know that, obviously you've done the first step, right? So yeah, I have been currently switched to DevOps for testing, but I'm not sure whether I should opt for this course. Yeah, Priyank Sharma. So Priyank, right? So the thing is that you are okay. So even Krishna asked the same. So what you will do after this course, right? So you are eligible for that's what like if you know the basics and like many would lack the basics, right? So how it works, and I'm not blaming you, but this is a new thing for you, right? So we are used to Windows or even Linux also, you might have used a very basic level. So we will dive deep into that. And if you are interested, you can do the certification. It's not a like you must do that RHCSA. But if you do this certificate, it's a good thing. It will add a perk to your portfolio. And if you're starting your career, then it's a good thing that you're already, it's like assuring the interviewer that you know the basics and intermediate level, right? So yeah, if you're already in a DevOps team, then you will learn the basics, right? So if you really don't know the basics, obviously you'll learn something here, right? So yeah, and same thing goes for Krishna, right? So you are AWS certified, and like yeah, in the AWS certification, what the issue is like, it's purely theory part, right? So especially solution architect, SAA certified. So here you will see everything in practical, Krishna. Okay, so yeah. Again, any doubts related to on 28th of this month, is it, Kiran? You're planning for? Okay, so that's a short time. So no, we won't cover before that. It's every weekend, right? So you are attending on like another 2 more weeks. So yeah, we cannot complete before that. this is on weekends, right, Kiran? So again, you just try to attend the exam. It's not like, yeah, you just attend it, but you can opt for the sessions if you are fine with knowing the basics. Okay, so you just attend AWS anyhow. You are scheduled it, right? So yeah, if you are having option and you do have option to reschedule, right? So you can reschedule if you really want to have the full picture and attend it. Okay, so again, you won't get Linux questions in AWS, Kiran. Okay, so yeah, yeah, CloudWatch is a monitoring tool, but it is within AWS, Reginald. Yeah, it's only within AWS. It's a proprietary to AWS. But these are all a specific tool just for monitoring. Datadog, all these Nagios, literally so many things you see here, right? All these are monitoring tools on it. Yeah. Any other doubts? Anyone? And it's not like I'm assuring that for sure right away you can apply for DevOps engineer and attending interviews, right? So you need to again practice or at least know the basics of all these tools, guys. Okay, so not only that, you have like, yeah, this image might be overwhelming, I know, but still, at least one famous tool in each of this CI/CD and yeah, so CI/CD means it is Jenkins, and cloud means at least one cloud you know. Okay, so it's not like I know all the clouds. One cloud, if you know, you can answer. Let's say in the company they are using GCP, you know only AWS. It's not like okay, I need to study GCP. Nothing like that. If you know AWS, you can answer GCP questions also, right? Just the naming scheme will differ, but the concept wise it's the same. So the VM, if you install it in AWS or GCP, the basic line or the concept wise it's obviously the same, right? So yeah, yeah, Ravi. So all the exams question will be doing all this 21 or 23 questions. It will be in the range of 21 to 23 you'll get in your exam. So we will be discussing, let's say I am training you on how to configure EM. So I'll be configuring it and we'll be discussing this exams question like that for any questions. We'll be discussing that topic. After that, we'll be seeing this exam question. Okay. So yeah. Kiran, actually, that one you just opt for it. Okay, so it's not like you cannot like on nothing. 1 second. Yeah, so you can opt for it, and you will be having the recordings, right? So let's say you cannot make it on the weekends, you will be having the recordings in your dashboard. So anytime you can come back and see it. Okay, so yeah, just a sec. Yeah, so this is the link to opt for the sessions. So you just go to this link and click on buy course. Then you will be prompted with this checkout section and click on checkout and you can pay with any mode of payments like UPI, credit card, debit, anything. Right. So yeah. Okay. And the YouTube channel, let me quickly show that also. Just a second. And please do let me know if you have any course level doubts. We'll be discussing that. Yeah. So you see, this is the previous batch recordings. Okay. So you can opt for, sorry, you can view the previous batches recording and how I am training, right? So you can know that, okay, my way of approach, and it's purely practical, guys. Okay. So just few sessions, it will be a theory part. Okay. So yeah, you need to somehow tolerate those days because at least the basic theory, you must know that, right? So it's not like fully practical, but the point is, yeah, it is all the things after that because you must know those basics like how a file system works and those things. Once you understood that, we will be fully discussing everything will be a practical session. Okay? Yeah, I'll be getting into that. No, Praveen. So Python is a different course altogether. So this is related to Linux. And if you're planning for a sysadmin, this is the course for you. When is the course end date? So legend, right? So yeah, legend. So the course end date is that's what like I cannot assure you on the date because at least 5 more weekends, right? So maybe October 19, 20 or something, right? So that's what like at least 5 weekends. 5 to 6 weekend of course content is there. So after that, if you are having any doubts, let's say you are asking me to like explain you one more time some topic, right? So it will take some time, right? So like that, it might extend 1 more week or so, but at least 19th of October, it can be completed. Okay. Yeah, I'll be getting into that, Vijay. So when is the course? Okay. Yeah, Ravi. Obviously, we'll be discussing all those. Are we dealing with profile, bash, RC, everything? Yes. I didn't mention that in the syllabus part because that's like a mandatory for a sysadmin, right? So we must discuss all those. Don't worry about it. Yeah, this is the payment link. Let me share it once again. Yeah. So yeah, let me show you how to install. Again, just go to this drive link. Let me send as a drive link because last batch few had an issue with accessing the URL shortener. So fine. This is the drive link. Please do bookmark it because anything related to our course will be posted here. Now, just go to this installation files and you will be having this one. Okay, so in here, you just download this VMware workstation and rel 8.4.iso. This is the operating system. Okay, so operate OS image and what is the basic system requirement, right? So VMware method. So for this method, the system requirement is obviously everyone will be every system will be eligible for it, but just 1 core of CPU. Okay, so at least 1 core you must allocate for the VM. So how to know the core count in your system? Just right click this taskbar, right? So you have a taskbar here, right click task manager, go to performance and click on CPU. You see this core count, right? It is 8 in my case. In your case, it can be 4, it can be 2, anything, it doesn't matter. At least 1 core we'll be using for the VM. Okay. And the next one is memory. So memory, at least 1 gig, right? So 1 GB is enough actually, right? So in my case itself, I will be reaching the threshold, right? But still 1 gig is more than enough for our usage. So yeah, and the next one is your disk. So you just allocate 20 gigs. It can be anything SSD or HDD, right? So yeah, just 20 gigs. And don't worry about network. Obviously, we'll be using a virtual network. I'll be showing you how to do that. But yeah, this is the basic system requirement. And for AWS, or let me mention CSP, which is cloud service providers like AWS, GCP, anything. So for that, the system requirement is like nothing. Okay, so you just rely on their portal because you are the one who need to configure it, and don't worry about it. I already have an instruction how to configure it. You can go through this and configure yourself. But anyhow, I'll be showing you in next session how to configure. Why? Because that's what, like, our sessions are based. It's a practical sessions, right? You must have a working lab. That's like, it's a necessity, right? So you must have it working. And I'll be showing you how to install in all the method. And for few people actually in my previous batches, they have hard time downloading this ISO because since it is a huge in size, if there is any network interruption, right, you might it might fail. And again, you need to download the whole 10 gigs, which is too hard, right? So in that case, um, yeah, one sec. Let me open one tool. So it is called as torrent. Okay, so this torrent you can download. For the people who already know torrent, you can download via that. It's totally fine. But if not, let me just show you one tool because you can pause and resume. If, let's say your network hiccup is there, you please do use this qubit torrent or any torrent client. It's not like only this. This is the very reliable one. So let me show you this. Yeah, this is the tool. And let's say I'm downloading this torrent. Download. Open it, and you see it is showing you this. Just try to check only this, or if you download this also doesn't matter. Only you'll be configuring this same 9.43 gigs. You see the same size, right? So just the mode of download is changed, guys. But it's the same file. You just check this one. If you don't also, it doesn't matter. Okay, so anyhow, so what is the benefit of using this is you can just pause and resume if you're having a very bad connection. You can do that, and it's a good thing, right? So yeah, you can use this torrent, and I even included this tool here, qubit torrent. This is the one, and Kitty will be configuring tomorrow, right? And yeah, please do download and keep it handy for tomorrow's session. If you are fine with downloading using VMware. For AWS and GCP, I'll be showing you how to set up. Don't worry about it. But yeah, only these, please do download. Again, only for your own personal laptops or your own devices, because in your corporate, if you have the privilege of an admin, you can. But most cases, it will be asking for a password. For any software installation, obviously, they will ask a password. And please don't take the risk of installing in that way. So, and every company, they allow at least AWS, GCP and all. So you can use that. Okay. So Krishna, okay, so that's a good question. So the exam is not compulsory, Krishna. It's not like for sure you will or you must attend the exam. But if you have that in your portfolio, that's a good thing, right? So this exam is like how to say, as I mentioned, it is like it has its own credibility. So if someone is trying, let's say you're trying for a different company for a different role also, let's say DevOps or a platform engineer, whatever roles I mentioned, if you are a Red Hat certified, it has its own value. Again, it's not like for sure you must do this exam or something, but if you have that, it adds a value to your resume, which is a good thing and which is what everyone needs, right? So they need to be, or their efforts need to be recognized. So that's the thing. So if you have this certificate, that's a good thing. And the certificate cost, actually, it's around, it's a bit costly nowadays. It's around 400 USD, guys. Just convert it to the INR, including tax, it is 400 USD. And the exam link, it is EX200. This is the exams link. Okay, so I will include that in the notes as well. And in here also I'll paste it. Also would be Kubernetes Docker. Yeah, we'll be discussing about Docker and Podman, Reginald. Yeah, sorry if I'm butchering your name. So yeah, but yeah, we will be discussing Docker. But Kubernetes, no, we don't discuss that because that is again a separate. There is already a batch going on Docker and Kubernetes. You can check that. But we will be discussing on basics of Docker as well as Podman because both are almost same. We'll be discussing what is the difference between both, and we'll be implementing in the session. Don't worry about it. Yeah, Priyank, everything will be covered. Curl, wget, set, awk, ns lookup. Those are all basics, right? So for sure we'll be covering. Don't worry about it. Yeah. So I guess I sent the link again, right? So let me send it once again. So just go to this link. Okay. Go to installation files, download these two. And please don't select these two and download because if you do that, it will start compressing, zipping, right? So this will take a lot of time. And since it is both are like huge in size, so just right click each individually and download it, right? Yeah, Praveen, obviously it's important, Docker and Kubernetes. Companies shift from a traditional virtualization to containerization, and that one we'll be discussing in tomorrow's session, right? So what is the major difference between containers and virtualization? What is the minimum pass score for the exam? Again, that's a good question. So pass score is the score is actually it is 300 and the pass score is 210. Okay, so if you score that, and I can assure you, once you are done with the batch, you can score 280 plus. If you're having hard time with at least one question, then you will score 280. Okay, so yeah, because it's not like okay, you will get the exact same question, and we did got it. Okay, so in my case, I got almost the same question paper, just few minor changes, but it's not like a dump. So many might ask it whether this is a dump or something. Just we will discuss all the topics, right? So if there is a, let's say, a video, any type they ask also, if you know the concept, you can answer it, right? So that's what we will be discussing the concept, and then only we'll be discussing this question. So as a concept wise, you know it, then easily you can answer any such question, right? If they twist the question also, you can answer it, but sometimes they will have they might trick you by asking a very unique way, but it is the same concept only, just you need to read it, right? And the exam's time, right? So yeah, it is around 3 hours, so they will the exam is of 3 hours, while I used to attend like 2 years back, it is 2.5 hours, same questions. Okay, so now it is good thing for you guys, like you can attend you have half an hour extra for that. There is no time constraint, Ravi. Just the exam time it is. So if you're, and that is an issue because one of my colleague last time he tried and he was stuck in container question for 1.5 hours. It's